Greetings everyone. Welcome to the second installment of your Google Intermediate class. This time around we're going to talk about Google Classroom, and I have found myself in the Google Classroom main page. How did I get here, you might ask yourself? Well, just like when we went to Google Plus, we went to the tiles after we went to Google, and over on the side I went and found Google Classroom. If you click more, for me I have to click more, and then Google Classroom was in the next set of tiles that was available to me. So hopefully you can find Google Classroom in your tiles there, and once you've selected it, you should come to the page that I'm currently at, and we're going to start out by creating a classroom. So up here there's a little plus symbol. You can create or join a class. Today we're going to create a class, so hit the plus and go to create class. This information is going to pop up. If so, your school must be a Google Suite, yada yada, blah blah blah. If you're not, you can click I've read and understand the above notice and I'm not using Classroom in a school with students. That may be the option for some of you. I'm using my non-school account to show this, so if people see it come up, we can know how to deal with it. So I'm going to click on that option and I'm going to hit continue. And then you're going to next fill in the information for your class. For this particular scenario, I think I'll just do my accounting class. And I'll fill in the rest of this information. You do the same, and then I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, so I filled out the rest of my form. I'm ready to start my class. I put accounting as the name, fifth hour is the section. This is an actual WATC class, so I went ahead and put that official name in there as well, the fundamentals of accounting. And then C28 is my room number. So after putting all that information in, pretty simple, we just hit create. As it's loading, I'm going to warn you now, there are two versions of Classroom out there. There's one side where it includes a simpler stream setup, and then there's the older version. So I'm going to work back and forth between the two, and you can already see right here it says what's new in Classroom. Now you can, and then it gives you a little list here. If you want to pause the video and read that, I'll let you do that for now. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on because I've got it. And I'm going to teach you some of the tips and tricks of this thing. So as we move along, I'll try to update you on the old versus the new. Some of you may already be using Classroom. There's not a huge difference. Just want to make sure you understand what we're looking at and what we're seeing. Okay? So I'm going to hit got it here, and we're going to keep moving on. To get us started here, we're going to make this really simple. It's very similar to the community. You got an About option, so I'd like you to click on the About option to start this scenario, and it's going to give you a little bit of information. One of the main pieces of information that you're going to want to be aware of is this class code right here. And I bring this up first because I'm going to need you to send me this class code so I can join your classroom. So if you want to do that towards the beginning of this assignment or towards the end, either way is fine. It's going to update as I see it, but I will need your classroom code so I can join your class so I can see how successful you are. Okay? Everything else is pretty self-explanatory here. So I'm going to close that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select a theme. And they have predetermined themes for you if you want to do that. They also have some patterns here, so I'll give you a moment. Take your time and select your theme. And then we'll come right back. I'll go get one as well. Alright, so to keep it simple, I selected the jelly bean theme here in the background because we're bean counters in accounting. Thought that was kind of funny. But if you don't like the themes that are available, the next option you have is to upload a photo over here. So you can click on Upload Photo, and then you can go select Photo from Computer, and you can select some pictures. Now I've got all my movies, so I need to go to a folder where there's images or photos. And once that pops up, you can select any photo from there. Alright, so that's just to show you the options that you have. I don't care which you choose, but please have a theme or a photo. Don't leave it basic. Don't leave it blank. It makes it more entertaining for you and for your students if you do something with that scenario. I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to keep my bean counting scenario so I can share that to my students when I teach accounting. So with that being said, I'm going to close out of this and we're going to keep moving on. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be your stream. The current view that we're in is the stream itself. And so we can see a few things within the stream, and you know you're in the stream because it has it underlined up here. down here below where you're actually going to post things to your stream, it looks very similar to the Google Community. We have share with your class instead of share something new or share what's new. So, and look, below that you have attachment, something from the drive, a YouTube video, or a link. So we have all those same similar functions minus the location. Everything else is still here. So we're going to show you how to do that real quick, just posting something to your classroom. So clicking in here, there's a share with your class scenario. I'm going to type in let's do general journal for simple text. And then maybe I'm going to add an attachment to go along with that. And so I could go to my drive, go to my all files, is where my accounting's hiding. There's accounting 1. And I'll pause and go find this file real quick. Okay, I'm back. So after sifting through quite a few folders and files, I've found what I'm looking for. There's a slides file that I'd like to share, so I'm going to click on that. And now you can see that that's been attached to whatever I'm about to post. Let's say I wanted to include a YouTube video. I could come up here and I can do a YouTube search using the general journal. Let's see what we get. Alright, how to make a journal entry. We've got another teacher on there, how to make a journal entry. What the heck? Let's click it, let's add it. Let's see what else we can put in here. And then maybe you have a link to a website that you want to plug in. So I could add something to the AICPA, the American Professional Accounting Association. We could throw that in there too so they could get some technical knowledge about how to journalize an entry. So the next piece we have to decide after we've added these files in there is what do we want to post, when do we want to post it. So you have a couple options. You could post it right now because you're talking to your students and they need the information and you were waiting till this moment to post it, or you could schedule it, or you could save it as a draft. Save it as a draft, well, it just saves it and doesn't post it. Scheduling, let's look at that. Scheduling means you can set a date and a time to when you would like this to post someday. So I'm going to set this for the 28th. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to October. I'm going to set it for October, let's go 5th. And so at 8 a.m., let's go, the counting's at 2 o'clock. So I'm going to go for 2 o'clock, and we're going to schedule it. And so that won't post. It'll show up here in the saved announcements at the top if you're looking at the screen, and it'll post on that date at that time. So you could genuinely set up your schedule for an entire week and schedule it out so it doesn't post until it's supposed to. And that's a really nice feature that the Stream has, or that Google Classroom has for your students. Okay, the next thing you can do along with sharing that information, it comes down here where you say communicate with your class here, and you can create and schedule announcements. So what we just did there was one announcement. You can click the same thing down here. You can respond to students as well. If they post in here, when they see their view, they have the option to just post something unless you turn that off. I don't ever turn that off. I like it when my students ask questions and post information. I think it's very beneficial. I would encourage you to do the same. But needless to say, we don't have anything to respond to or comment on because there's nothing posted out here right now. So if I put in there general journal are used for what? And I post that. I'll put it out there now. Now they can add a class comment. I can add a class comment, and they can answer some kind of question. Very similar to the community where they had the add a comment feature. And this is a great way to do like a quick quiz of what kids know to kind of get a check for understanding and see what their knowledge base is at the point in time. Okay, and that's pretty much the stream. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. There's not much more to it. Google has shifted some things around, so the next category that we're going to talk about is classwork. So for now, I want you to post one or a combination of each one of those things that we talked about in the share your something with the class. I'd like you to do an attachment, a drive file, a YouTube video, and a link. Now I understand that you can do a combination of link that is also from the drive, that is also an attachment. So however you want to do that, I need you to post at least 4 things. All right, I hope that keeps it simple for you. Keep this in mind as well as you work on this particular part of this assignment. You want them to be relative to something you're doing in class. It keeps it easier for you, and if you already have stuff made, put those things in succession. Maybe you're somebody who is already advanced in Google Classroom and you're just taking this to get the credit hours. I understand that. So plug your information in and move on to the next thing. All right, I'll give you time to do that, and I'll come back talking about classwork. All right, next in our video, we're going to talk about classwork and how to use this particular tab to work within your Google Classroom. You're going to find that some of the features are similar to Stream, however, you can organize your information better. So to do that, you need to click on your classwork tab, and then you're going to come over here to create, and it has assignment come up first, but I'm actually going to go a different direction. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I want you to select topic. Okay, and I want you, just like the side topics that were in the community, this is going to create topics within classwork to allow your students to go to, say, chapter 3, chapter 4, or whatever section or topic that you happen to be talking about. And it's a really nice feature because then you can plug all of your other assignments and resources into this spot, and they have one place that they go to get that information. So if you've gone through 5 chapters and kids were missing stuff in chapter 2 and they needed to make it up because they were sick or things that happen, you can say, well, go find chapter 2's topic, and then all the information's in there, from the videos to the notes to the assignments, and you can get it all right there. It's a great way to do that. So what I want you to do is first make a topic. I've already made my topic, and when you post the topic, it shows up something like this. It says, mine said chapter 3 general journal, because that's what I'm focusing on for my topic in this scenario. And then after I've made my topic, then I go back to create, and I start looking at creating an assignment, questions, materials, and reuse posts. And so I'd like you to make a topic and do each one of these things. So I'm gonna talk about each one of these things too. So let's first look at assignment. So you click on assignment, and you come in here, you give the assignment a title, and then down here you assign it some points. If you don't use this to grade, like as far as putting grades in a grade book, I would tell your students that this is an arbitrary number, and that you will find your grade in whatever grade book you're using. For example, we use Skyward, so I don't put their grades in Google per se, I put it into Skyward. And so that they just know that I'm never going to put their points in this scenario. I think it is good practice to put the point value of whatever you're assigning them in there, so you might consider that when you're filling this out. The other aspect is the due date. You can plug that on there so they know when it's due. I'm just going to pick an arbitrary date for this one because I'm not actually going to submit it. So let's say it was November 21st, and maybe you could even put time on it because some of you want your things to be time sensitive. After that, we added the topic so we could put it in the topic. That was the whole point. So if I was making something for chapter 3, I would plug it in there. Don't get misled by the title. Don't try to type all your instructions in the title per se. It's better to do that down here. It just looks cleaner. Give your assignment a name, and then give the instructions below it. I think it looks a lot better that way. After you've done that, you can again attach any of those 4 things that we did in our stream initially. So you have 2 options as to where you can post this. So if you want to use the stream to put this out there, if you want to go right into classwork and do it, both of them work. And then you still have the same assign options. Oops, I got to give this a name. I'm going to give it a fake name for now. And then you can select if you want to schedule it, save it as a draft, or assign right now. All right, so all those same options are there. So that's creating an assignment. What it'll look like when it shows up is something like this. And the really nice feature about this, it shows you who's turned it in and who hasn't, basically who's assigned over here. And then when the due date passes, it'll tell you who's late or who's missing. And if you want to view the assignment in full, you can click it open here, and we'll hit got it. And then you can go in here and grade. But we're going to talk more about that after a bit. So I'm going to go back, and I want to stay in this classroom view for now. Okay, so after that, after you've posted your assignment, the next thing you can do is go to create. All right, and we're going to go, instead of assignment, create a question. All right, let's look at that. So this is one of those scenarios where you can still ask it at a certain date and time. It doesn't have to be like right away, but they're going to respond in the classroom right here, very much like if you had shared a question out in the community and they added some comments below to answer it. So, and this is really handy because it keeps track of who has and who hasn't answered. That's one of the features the community doesn't offer. that the classroom does. And there's a few things that the classroom does that I think is very beneficial for the classroom. Whereas the community, I think it can be used as a classroom tool, and I have used it before I got into classroom, but I think it's more beneficial for like activities and athletics and things of that nature because you don't have grading going on. So food for thought, something for you to think about. But as we finish the question, obviously you type your question in, points, you can have a due date if you want, but I think the most important piece of this is that you put a topic to it because then it gets classified under the category where it belongs. So if some student needs to make up that question because they were gone for that day, or if they need to do it from home, they know where that question's located and what I need to do because I know we're in this chapter. So I think that's really handy. You can always post a video or something like that to go along with the question you're asking. So maybe they need to watch a video before they answer the question. Something to consider. So if I, again, type something fake in here and I plug all my other information in, I get to the ask point, I can schedule it, or I can save it as a draft. All right, that's asking a question. It'll show up, if you do one, it'll show up something like this one right here. And so I followed up my application problem with what problems do you have with did you have with application 3-1? And they can post their questions down here, and then I can go view their questions and see what I need to reteach, so to speak. Look at that, it saved that as a draft. I'm going to get rid of that draft because I don't want it. That's how you delete a draft. So the last piece of information, or the last thing on this list that's individual that hasn't already been created, is the materials. So let's say you have a video or a link, or maybe even you have online text you need them to access. This material option is what you want to select. And you can plug in the title, description again if you want to get real in depth. The topic, I think, is the most important piece to this after you give it the title, is making sure it gets to the right category or the right chapter or the right section, whatever you're dealing with. So some food to chew on there. Again, you can post the links, the video, the drive, all that stuff. So I'm going to leave that at that. I'm not even going to, the posting options are still the same as the previous one, where you can schedule now, post it to a later date, or save it as a draft. So I've got those 3 items in here, and they're all under Chapter 3, General Journal, and they're all related. Students have an easy, consistent way to find their information. All right, I'm going to get rid of this draft because I'm not going to use it. So after you have that information plugged in, you saw there was a 4th option, reuse post. So if I click on that, I have options of previous posts that I could repost, or maybe I have multiple sections of the same class. That's where this becomes really handy, and I can just go to reuse post and post it into those other classes. Because if you have more, like I only have 1 class listed through this username, but in my other scenario, I teach 3 personal finance classes. So I build it for 1, and then I reuse the posts for the other 2. It's really handy. I really like it. And then you can always select, like let's say I was going to use this, I can check mark this if I want new copies of all attachments for the kids that I'm going to send it for the next or different hour that I would send it to. So really something very, very handy that Classroom has built in it. Okay. A couple of the things we're going to talk about are the calendar and the class drive folder, and then we'll get into some grading aspects as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick look at the calendar. If you click on calendar here, it's going to take you to this link, and it's going to basically show you your Google Calendar with all of your other stuff on it, and it's going to add anything that you put a date to this calendar. So remember when I assigned application problem 3-1, I actually put October 8th as a date for that, and here it is showing up on October 8th. And if you click on it, it'll give you all the details. In fact, it'll give you a link so you can go to it if you want to. Really, really handy tool. And this will actually put it on the student's calendar as well. When they join the class, it'll connect it for them. So it should, if they know how to use it, keep them up to date and up to speed as to when things are due, and they should be fully accountable. Now, are they? Do they check their calendar? I'd be real surprised if they were in the habit of checking their calendar. All right, that's the calendar. Let's go back to classwork. The next thing we're going to talk about is the folder. All right, welcome back. The next thing we're going to talk about is the folder. Really quick, really self-explanatory. There's nothing you're going to have to do here. I just want to show you what it does so you know where things are going. So if you click on the folder, it's going to bring you to your classrooms folder. So It took me to my accounting 5th hour folder, because that's what I called my class, but there's nothing in here. Well, there's nothing in here because we don't have any students invited. Once you invite students, every student will have their own folder, and it'll be located in here. They can access it, you can access it. Okay, now that we're done talking about the folder, we're going to talk about grading and where to find that information. It's going to be in the View Assignment, or you can click on Turned In or Assigned. Either one of those will all take you to the same place. I'm just going to click on Turned In for the time being. And clearly there's nothing in here because I am making this as we go. So I flipped over to my entrepreneurships class so you could see what files look like when you look in a graded scenario or a turned in scenario where there's options to grade. None of these students have any grades on their assignments, and the only thing we're going to look at is just their stuff, and fortunately they're kind and they gave me permission to do this. So in my entrepreneurship class, here are my students, and you can tell who has or who hasn't turned in. If I scroll down a little bit better, you might see people who still have it as assigned and not turned in. And then I can literally click on those. I asked Nadia for permission to click on hers first. And you can go see what she's turned in. She submitted 2 things because she had 2 parts to the assignment. She has some slides and she also has some docs. Okay, so the 2 things that I can grade this time, and I'm going to go ahead and click on slides to show you that view. So it does bring you to a new window, and this is your grading window. And you can go through and leave comments for each slide. You can also leave additional comments over here about the whole assignment. Those are both options that you have with this whole scenario. I really like the grading feature here, but I don't put a font. I do tell them how many they missed, and I give justification as to what they need to do to improve, but I put the actual percentage grade or the points earned in our Skyward app. I don't put that in here like, you know, it says whatever out of 100. I just don't put it in there because it's double the work. So some food for thought or some advice for you, I would just plug it in there. Just tell them what they missed over here and go from there. It works really slick. It's really fast. And once you do that, hit return, and it's gone. It's like you handed it back, and you don't ever have to look at it again. So really convenient, really handy way to get grading done. I'm going to go back to that classroom real quick, and I'm going to go back a set here. You won't see the turn-in side of things until you assign something and you see your students try to turn something in. Okay? So keep that in mind. When you post an assignment, let me go back to our original scenario here. When you posted this assignment right here, they're going to see that too, but this area is going to say open instead of turned in and assigned. And they're going to click open, and then it's going to give them an option on the bottom left to add a file or a link to answer the question. And so that's why you saw files for my students in the turned in areas. And that's how Nadia had posted 2 different assignments for that particular class. So, and that particular assignment. So really, really handy, really nice feature. The next thing I need you to know is to remind you to make sure you create a subtopic. Make sure you turn or post an assignment, a question, and a class material. I want to see that you can do that. I realize that I talked a lot about the different features. There really isn't a lot of additional work here. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So I'm not going to add a whole lot of extra. The next thing we're going to talk about is people, talking about invitations and things of that nature. So make sure you get this stuff plugged in, and then make sure you also invite me. We're going to talk a little bit about people here in a second. So I'm going to pause and we'll go to people next. Okay, I'm now on the people tab. I went from classwork to people. So within the people tab, I can see these things. I'm back to my entrepreneurship class, showing you what this looks like because it has people in it. Yours might look like this, and it has a lot of crickets chirping right now. So we're going to look at this one and show you what it can do. The first thing you have options to do, you can invite other teachers to teach with you, and you guys can share this resource between your classes if you would like to. I actually would like you to invite another teacher besides me to be a part of this training of yours, okay? They don't have to stay that way. I just want to see that you can do it. So if you can invite them long enough for them to see this class or to go through this class, and then you can get rid of them, that's totally up to you, okay? But I'd like to see you invite another teacher so I can see another name underneath your name in that section. Additionally, I don't know that you're going to be able to include students here. It'd be cool if you had time to plug some students in so I can see that. At minimum, I'm going to be your student. So at the end of the day, you're going to invite me and I'm going to join as a student, so you'll see my name here. But if you can do more, it'd be neat to be able to see you be able to make some of these other things work. Like, for example, I can sort by first name or last name. I know that's not super cool, but if you click on the all selection, or if you just click on individual kids, you can do a couple things. You can email them, you can remove them, or you can mute them if they're creating problems on your classroom and they don't need to have a voice in this space. Those are all options that you can have. To invite them, if you click on invite students, you can send an email to them. All of our students have school email, so that's a pretty easy thing to do. Another easy way to invite students, that's it for people, by the way, that's all you got to do. Just make sure you invite me and invite one other teacher. But another way you can invite students, if you go to the gear up there, I'm going to go back and show you how to do that again. So there's a gear up here. If you click on the gear, and every year when I start my first day procedures, I show them the class. They know where classroom is. They know how to get to it. And so I show them the class code, and voila, there it is. That's how I'd like you to invite me. I'd like you just to send me an email with the class code on it, and then I'll join your class using the class code. And that's it as far as classroom goes and the information I want to show you. The last thing I want to really demonstrate for you as far as classroom is concerned, we're going to go back to the one we created. If you look at the stream now, because you've posted some things, there's all the information out there. It's pretty nice and handy. In the community, they have subtopics over here. I should mention this. There's no subtopics over in here. It will, when work is going to be upcoming for the week, it'll show over here on the side. The thing they've replaced the subtopics with is this classwork tab at the top, and then they've categorized it based on the subtopics that you create. And you can adjust which topics are first, second, third, and fourth. So if you want to build a whole class for the entire year and have this all set up well in advance, you can, and you can maneuver it. Maybe you feel like something doesn't fit in that order, so you can change it. You can grab these headings and move them. In fact, if you want to rename it or copy the link and send the link out to them, you can do that. Now, there's no reason to move up or down because there's no other subtopics right now. Okay, so some food for thought, something for you to think about when you have your whole thing set up. Okay, so that's it for Classroom. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. It's long. I know the community was long. These are the longer videos because we're talking about whole systems here, setting up a whole online scenario. The next thing we're going to move into is Screencast-O-Matic, where you're going to get to produce the videos and I get to watch a little bit. So I'll demonstrate a little bit of that. I'll try to make 3 quick videos for that, and then we'll move on from there. All right, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing all your classrooms.